Hello, I have the great fortune to be here with Steve Townsend, a 1975 graduate of the Dedman School of Hospitality. He and his wife, now owners of a boutique hotel in Washington called the Windrow, a 59-room hotel. Steve, it's fabulous to have you here with us. Can you do me a favor and just tell our watchers briefly a little bit about you and a little bit about what you do?
I've spent my whole career in the hotel business, but what I do now, I have a company called Indigo Solutions. We have developed a hotel here in Ellensburg, a little college town in central Washington. Myself and a bunch of partners, we actually have 49 partners, put together a deal to build an independent full-service hotel in Ellensburg. Had not had a hotel that was open since the early 80s. My wife and I saw the need for a hotel here, and I've developed a bunch of hotels in my career, but always for companies that I worked for. And I wanted to take the opportunity to do one for myself. And we opened it in January. Not great timing to open a hotel, but we'll persevere. And when the crisis is over, we'll be ready.
Well, congratulations on opening a hotel, which I know has been a long-term dream of yours and your wife's. And like you said, the timing probably couldn't have been a whole lot worse. You obviously were open for what, a month or a couple months before the
2 months.
coronavirus?
2 months. Yeah. And
And
we're
so,
still open. We're actually still open on a very, very limited basis. We're housing some people from the local hospital, doctors and administrators who want to stay here instead of going home. But that's it. And the restaurant, of course, is closed.
well, you're unique in the sense that you opened 2 months ago and it's a boutique hotel. And maybe now compare the numbers because of the COVID and your limited opening versus what your projections were.
So in this market, we're about 110 miles southeast of Seattle. The Seattle market is a really great hotel market, high average rates, $300 to $400 average rates. We're not anything like that out here in Central Washington. Our projections for the hotel were in the 160 range for average rate in the first year, with a stabilization by the third year at about $200. We have a fair amount of meeting space in the hotel. That segment was really important to us. Our hotel is a combination of a historic building and a new build hotel, and the historic building has a beautiful old ballroom that was built in the 20s in it. So it's popular for weddings, has a lot of sentimentality in town with people that were people had events in that ballroom over the course of generations for decades. Planned on a soft opening in January and to do a grand opening in March. Things, of course, happened and we didn't end up having the grand opening in March. So we have not had a grand opening at all. So we got the soft opening, opened the restaurant, and then in the middle of March, when the governor closed down a lot of businesses, we closed the restaurant, scaled back the hotel. And so now, our average rate has dropped $60, $70 from where we would like it to be, certainly, but there's just no business right now.
I know every state's a little bit different. Here at Florida State University, we're either online or remote, teaching remote throughout the summer. We're still waiting on fall, like I think the rest of us.
Yep.
Any word in Washington or in your area if there's going to be a soft opening anytime soon? And what do you see doing differently than, because of the COVID-19, once you are able to open versus maybe the experience you had at the Wyndhams and other places you've worked?
Well, it's interesting. I brought a lot of my corporate relationships with me when I came here. I have the good fortune of being able to call up senior VPs at Ecolab and people like that I can just talk to and get advice from, and that'll return my calls where maybe they wouldn't be so quick to for a 59-room hotel out in the middle of nowhere. We're working hard to get ready. We're fingers crossed, we're hoping to be able to bring the restaurant back online before Memorial Day. We're putting together a social distancing guideline so that we will reduce the capacity of the restaurant, leave empty tables between each party, every two parties, probably not have tables of more than 6, and then just do all the things that we would need to do to up the sanitation as far as more cleaning of surfaces, especially touch points, probably masks on all of our team members. We're going to be doing non-contact thermometers to check guests before we seat them and before they check into the hotel. So we're going to do all that stuff because we want our guests to see that we're doing everything we can do to assure their safety and the safety of our team too. So we're going to do all that. We're working with Ecolab and with the National Restaurant Association guidelines and so on to make sure that we're ready on the restaurant side and on the hotel side to be able to assure our guests that we're doing everything we can to take care of them.
Very good. I know that you've been in the hotel business, I guess, most of your career. Through 2001 and the recession of 2009, I know occupancies around the hotel industry dropped. I know ADRs dropped. How do you compare this with those times, and then your maybe projection of the recovery? Do you think the recovery will be quite as quickly as?
I don't think it'll be quite as quickly. I was managing a 700-room hotel in Waikiki when 9/11 came along. It was a unique experience, certainly in Hawaii. All of a sudden, I had a full hotel that couldn't leave, but it was over then, and you just kind of moved on, and you had to restructure your market and different market segments and so on, and then build the business back up. What we're dealing with now is more of like a slow-moving disaster. It's hard to evaluate because you don't really know when it's going to end and how to react to it in the meantime, and when people have the confidence to travel and spend time in your hotel and in your restaurants and so on. I mean, we're pretty confident that when we come out of this, there will be an immediate boom of pent-up desire to stay in hotels and stay and eat in restaurants and so on. But I'm not absolutely convinced that that's going to sustain. There's a lot of people that they're not going to have the resources. They've taken a hit financially. They're going to get more conservative. So the new normal, I think, is going to force us to be more creative. I don't think the meeting business is going to come back instantaneously. I think they're still going to rely on Zoom, and I think that's going to be a new normal for a lot of meetings. So I'm concerned that our market is going to change quite a bit, and that we just have to react to that.
Right. Well, one thing that I am confident of is that we will recover, and I think that our students and other students and hospitality leaders will lead the world through this economic slide that we've had. Any advice for our students at all in times like this?
I'd probably give them the same advice I'd give them if there wasn't a crisis, which is find a job where you can get some great experience, especially wide-ranging experience. Get experience, and especially if you're going to be in the hotel business, get experience all over the hotel. Don't just target what you want to be doing eventually. Do some things that are going to get you more experience, because inevitably that's the thing that's going to make you the well-rounded manager that's going to do well in this industry in the long term. I think you just have to work harder at finding the right job and probably be willing to look at a broader perspective of things that you might consider.
We have a minor with entrepreneurship at the Jim Moran College of Entrepreneurship, and we're starting our master's this fall, which is really good timing because a lot of students that maybe aren't going to go right into the workforce after graduation have an opportunity to get a master's degree. And can you tell me how some of your skill sets working for a corporation transferred into now you being an entrepreneur?
When I was with Wyndham, and before Wyndham, when I was with a couple of other companies in Hawaii, I kind of evolved out of the property management role into a corporate role and got into the development side of things and was doing conversions and developments of properties in Micronesia and the South Pacific. I learned a lot about different situations, lots of different owners that I worked for, and that had just different ways of doing things as far as developing properties and so on. So I learned a lot of good things and a lot of not so good things from doing that. I came out with a lot of connections that I could call up when I was getting ready to do this project on my own and get advice from. When you do a project like this on your own, you don't realize until you don't have that big corporation behind you what value that is, because I'm my own legal department, I'm my own HR department. In the past, I just looked up a phone number and called somebody, and now all of a sudden I've got to do this myself or find a resource. So I learned a lot along the way that helped me in this current role for sure.
Well, Steve, we really appreciate you coming and speaking with us, and really, really wish you great success. And when we get through this, I hope to be your first customer back.
All right, that'd be great. We'd love to have you visit Central Washington.
I would love to do it. Well, thank you again, and you take care.